Well, there's only one version of Spider-Man left, the only port we haven't covered, the Nintendo 64 version. So let's do this.
What do we have here?
I am playing this game from the cartridge that I got 16 years ago on the original Nintendo 64. So the most noticeable change from the PS1 version to the Nintendo 64 version is that now all of the cutscenes are missing. And they've been replaced with these comic book panels, and I'm sure they tried to make sure the story stayed coherent. But for the more action-heavy segments, it's nearly impossible to tell what's going on. This was actually the way I originally experienced the game, because back when this came out, I did not have a PlayStation 1. And after I eventually did get the PS1 version, I stopped touching this version entirely. Not because it's bad, but because, you know, the PS1 version has cutscenes. I feel like they could have even used the storyboards, and it still would have made a lot more sense than the still images from the PS1 cutscenes. So let's not make you suffer through this anymore, huh?
Once again, we find our hero Peter Parker, better known around the world as the Amazing Spider-Man, in a heap of trouble. But this is just the beginning, Spidey fans. So get ready for a true superhero action thriller, packed to the brim with thrills and chills, twists and turns, more supervillains than you can shake a web at, and of course, non-stop web-slinging, wall-crawling action.
Hey, Spider!
Hey, Black Cat, what's going on?
I know there's been some trouble, but the bank's being robbed, and they've got hostages. Use your Spidey compass to get to the bank quickly.
Thanks, Cat.
So the audio, as I'm sure you've noticed, has taken a big hit from the technically superior versions. In the first few seconds of that intro cutscene was missing, but that's the price I pay for trying to record it on an actual Nintendo 64. We're only going to be playing through the first chapter of the Nintendo 64 version, because you don't need to see me play through the entire game again. I do want to show you that the billboards look really awful in this version though. But it can't be helped, they worked with what they had. We have the same controls, more or less, as we did in the other versions. We're capable of all the same things, the mapping layout is just slightly different. But I feel it's important to note that this version controls the best out of all the versions of this game, including the Dreamcast one. This one far and away has the most responsive controls.
I can't believe they shot down those police choppers.
Yeah, just my luck. I'll probably get blamed for that, too. Is that the bank ahead?
Yes, but be careful, Spider. I saw the chopper dropping off armed robbers on top of the bank.
Thanks for the heads up, Cat.
And you can see right here that the draw distance has also taken a very big hit. But again, there's nothing that can be done about that.
I bet I can get into the bank through the top.
I have a hard time comparing the in-game character models between the Nintendo 64 and PS1 versions, because the PS1 versions are definitely higher resolution, but the Nintendo 64 versions are way less jaggy. So I guess it depends on which of those is more important to you. The game design is obviously completely unchanged from both versions. I can't think of a single thing that's been altered, even the chair is in the same place as in the PS1 version in the bank.
That's the last one. Hope the cops still are. Well, I hope they don't mind if I make a quick deposit.
Sometimes my HD game capture really disagrees with Spider-Man's cutscenes. This is, as I've been saying, the only version of Spider-Man 2000 where he has a shadow. As I just demonstrated, and I'm about to demonstrate again. He actually has a shadow in this version. Or he did. I don't know where it went.
To make sure they don't get hurt.
But it was there earlier, you saw it. Of course you can also see it while he's on the ground.
Looks like that room there controls the security doors. The door is locked from the inside.
But it's a much better replacement for the white dot while you're crawling that was in the other
Looks
versions.
like these switches can open the security doors.
The textures for the switches have been changed a bit. A lot of the textures have been changed to be less, pretty looking. In case you're wondering who developed this version and why this developer wasn't chosen for the next Spider-Man games, the 6th gen ones, I mean, it's because this developer was independent. They didn't work directly under Activision. They're called Edge of Reality, and they made quite a few ports of other people's games, and developed some notable licensed titles like Transformers Rise of the Dark Spark, and that Incredible Hulk game that tried to be like Ultimate Destruction. They've been kept consistently busy, but their only original IP was Loadout, which came out in 2014. But they also still have all of their ports for Nintendo 64 listed on their website, and they seem fairly proud of what they did. So even though this isn't the most interesting developer history, I can respect that. They claimed that their port of Spider-Man pushed the Nintendo 64 to new heights, and I don't know enough about the Nintendo 64's hardware to tell you whether that's accurate.
Well, going down?
I can tell you one change they made to the gameplay, even if it's the only one I've been able to notice. The controls for web yanking are inverted while you're crawling on the ceiling. I'm not sure if they had a reason for this, if it's by complete accident, or if it's a deliberate decision, but that's how it is. I would also like to say the web yanking is way more responsive in spite of the controls being inverted for it. You're probably noticing that Spidey and everyone else is talking a bit less, and you can't do anything about that either. There's just not as much room on the Nintendo 64 cartridge. Speaking of which, What If mode is entirely missing from this version. But I can't imagine how they would have managed to fit that on here. And as I've already said, this version is also the only one where the screen displays something that is not static. And we'll get a closer look at it after we take out this guy. I do appreciate the nice graphical touches. Even Treyarch overlooked giving Spidey an actual shadow. This is kind of trippy. But yeah, those are pretty much the only graphical details that are any different from the other versions. Mostly the textures are just blurrier.
Uh-oh, more hostages and a bomb.
And we're just about done looking at Spider-Man 64, which means we're just about done looking at the first generation of 3D Spider-Man games. Kind of a bittersweet moment.
Start the timer on the bomb and take out all the hostages.
But from here on, the games only get crazier and more creative, so that's something to look forward to. Thank you all for coming along with me to watch me play through Spider-Man on the Dreamcast.
The robbers have been taken care of, but what can I
And
do
hopefully you'll
with the
stick around for the rest of Spidey's insane adventures, because there's still a lot left. See you soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Not this time, guys.